All right, Aiden. So why don't you to kind of start off by kind of introducing yourself, telling everybody a little bit about you and background, all that good stuff.
For sure. So I'm a recent graduate at Good Counsel High School in Olney, Maryland. In high school, I was involved in a bunch of different things. I was a member of our campus ministry program. I was involved on our peer education team. I was a member of the varsity lacrosse team and a couple other little things there in between. In the fall, I'll be attending the University of Georgia, where I'm going to study economics. And I'm excited to be on the channel today. My faith is something very important to me, so obviously I'm looking forward to talking about it. In high school as well, I should have added I was also on the Strength in Christ team for the Bible study. We would put on weekly Bible studies, and I just had a great time with it. So I look forward to continuing on with it with this YouTube channel, and I'm excited for what it brings.
That's awesome, dude. Now you mentioned your faith is something that's very important to you. So kind of share, a little bit about your faith. I know you're Catholic, but how'd you kind of get into it? What's your faith journey kind of been like, so far?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised Catholic. My parents brought me up that way. My mom, she was actually a Lutheran who turned Catholic recently through an RCIA program. My dad's a lifelong Catholic, so he always wanted his kids to be raised that way. So me and my brother are both lifelong Catholics. I was baptized probably 2, 3, 4 days after I was born, and then I was confirmed. I was confirmed about a year ago, roughly. So this is actually the tie I wore at my confirmation. But anyways, I'm a lifelong Catholic, and I plan to, when I start a family someday, follow in I guess my dad's footsteps and raise my kids similarly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, what is the RCA program?
So RCIA, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's a program that if an individual wants to transfer into the faith of Catholicism from a separate a separate section of Christianity. So, for example, my mom was a Lutheran and she wanted to become Catholic. Me and my brother both are. My dad was, so she wanted to transfer into the faith. Obviously, it's all under the branch of Christianity, but the program, I forget how long it was. It was at least several months. It might be closer to a year, but it was a program that taught her more about what it means to be a Catholic and how it differs from how she was previously a Lutheran and just what it means to dive into the faith of being a Catholic. And she learned a ton from it, obviously. So then she went through that and did a couple other things. She went on a retreat, had a great time there, and then eventually she was like me, baptized and confirmed to be a Catholic.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't really know that such program existed, but that's
Mhm.
awesome. Now, what is the confirmation process? What is that kind of like? What you have to do to, quote, be confirmed?
Sure. So I went to a lot of classes. We had about one class per week for I'd say at least 2 to 3 months. There was a lot of different things in between. One of the really cool parts of being in the confirmation process is that you get what's called a confirmation sponsor. So your sponsor is the person who's there to help you, look after you, be there for you, give you any help, answer any questions you might need during the process. And my confirmation sponsor was a really close family friend of mine from my parish. He he's kind of just always been there for me like throughout my whole life. We're not like super close per se, but anyways, on a couple days, like a week before I got confirmed, he got us matching ties. So that's the relevance of this and why I'm wearing it right now. He's a super good man. But anyways, we would go out, get lunch, go play golf together, and we all just had a good time. So the importance of having a confirmation sponsor is really just to have somebody who's there for you during the process. And then on the actual confirmation, you'll have a bishop there and he'll bless you with a sacred oil. And then your confirmation sponsor will put their hand on your shoulder. And then the other really important part of getting confirmed is that you get a confirmation saint. So my confirmation saint was Saint Christopher. He's the patron saint of traveling. When I had my first communion, my grandparents got me this necklace that says Saint Christopher protect us, and for a super long time I'd wear it. So It always just had a really special meaning to me.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's a lot of classes and then meeting with the confirmation sponsor, I guess, to get to know
Definitely.
him a little bit better.
Definitely. Yeah. That's pretty much the base of it.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, if you had to pick kind of one of your favorite verses or passages, what might that be?
So, one Bible verse that's actually stuck with me a lot lately is Matthew 27 and 28. So, transferring into this time of going into college, going away from home, there's a lot of worries, a lot of things that could make me anxious. So, I'll read the verse real quick. Can any of you, by worrying, add a single moment to your lifespan? Why are you anxious about clothes? Learn from the way the wildflowers grow. They do not work or spin. So, what this verse means to me is that any worries I might have about going into the difficult times of college and what it means to go far away from home is that if I'm going to worry about it, it's not going to change anything. Nothing will get any better if I'm worrying about this situation. It's only going to get worse. So, just thinking about going far away from home, leaving my family, all my friends, taking difficult classes, if I'm going to worry about all these things, the only thing that's going to come from it is that I'm going to have a tough time in this transition. But if I don't worry and I just put my faith here, I'm going to be okay.
That's really relatable and that's really, relevant because I think, there's a lot of worries about the future and what that may hold. And, especially for you who's going to be, going out of state,
Right.
away from everything that you've kind of known your whole life. But I think that's a good verse to keep in mind that, if the birds don't worry about where they're going to get food,
Exactly.
then we should not worry about our futures because the same God that gives the birds food is the same God that will give us strength in our next chapters in life. That's
I
a
think
really,
that's an
really
excellent verse for anybody going through an important transition phase in their life, whether it's middle to high school to college, college to the real world.
100% for sure. I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, let's kind of pivot a little bit. What's one struggle and one victory that you kind of had in your faith journey?
Well, I'll start with the victory. I say the victory is definitely getting confirmed. I think it's probably the most important thing I've ever done as a Catholic. When I was baptized, I was a little baby. I didn't know what I was doing, right? But I think going through that process and just getting confirmed and just knowing I've solidified my faith um, was really important to me. Obviously, it just because I'm confirmed doesn't mean I'm a perfect Catholic, doesn't mean I'm a perfect Christian. Obviously, I'm still going to have troubles, struggles, things I'm going to go through, but I know that my faith has been solidified with Christ. So that's definitely my victory. And then I think that one of the troubles I've had is just at times just not putting my faith completely into Christ. Just having my doubts and my worries. Like I said in my quote, when I know that Jesus is there for me, regardless, I'll have like external factors start to cloud my brain. And I think that's something that a lot of people will struggle with. It's at times when I'm going through something difficult and I just don't put my faith in him and I'll start taking all these other things, whether it's opinions of friends, family members, and anything that's going on, and just start to ignore the truth and just let my brain get clouded and not close my eyes and take a moment to breathe and not focus. I think that's something that I've definitely gotten better at. Anytime I'm now in a difficult situation, I feel like I've really gotten better at just trusting that it's his plan for me, regardless of what I'm going through. But definitely in the past, especially in the early high school years, I for sure had a tough time with acknowledging that whenever something's going wrong, it's all going to work out in the end, and that he's always there with me.
Another very, relatable aspect, it's going back to the seems to be an overarching theme of trust, on how
Absolutely.
you're unsure what the future may hold, but learning to trust in Jesus even when on the outside it may not seem like there's anything you can hold on to. but just trying to trust Jesus and trust his plan. All right, let's kind of pivot a little bit to, you mentioned that at the beginning that you're part of the Strength in Christ Club, which you're one of the people that helped to kind of get it off the ground. So kind of talk about what was the inspiration behind it? What's the studies kind of been like? All that good stuff.
Totally. So the origin of the Strength in Christ Club is when me and a good buddy of mine, Lucas, who I know was interviewed previously, we were at the beach for July 4th, and Lucas had reached out and said, "Yo, do you want to do a Bible study on the beach at the sunrise?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." So we went to the beach, did a 30-40 minute Bible study, watched the sunrise, and it was really just an awesome, like, one bonding moment, but also an awesome moment with Christ, that we got to share. So anyways, a month or two goes by, and we're talking, and we're like, we should do something like that again. And I was like, yeah, we totally should. So we started doing them at a local bagel place near our high school. We do the studies there and post them on social media to invite out whoever would like to come. And then eventually, once summer ended, we were like, we can't stop this. It needs to keep going. So we made it an official club. We never liked calling it a club. We liked calling it a Bible study because we didn't really feel like it was a club. Anyways, we made it an official thing at our school. And slowly more and more people started joining. 5 people, 7 people, 8 people. And then eventually there was like 20 to 25 people at the studies. Now, as the year went on, it started to dwindle a little bit. People at the studies, and it kind of just felt like a family at the end of the year. You'd always see the same faces. Everybody was always very supportive of each other, always there for each other. And it kind of just became like another friend group, if that makes sense. And then talking about the actual studies themselves, the way they would work is we'd either do what's called chapter studies, where we'd go through one chapter, say we read Matthew 11. We'd read it in breaks, maybe like a couple verses at a time, and then break it down, talk about what it means to us, how it relates to our lives. And then the other type of study we would do would be like a theme study. So maybe we're talking about the theme of trust or love or lust or sin in general. Um, we just break down different verses throughout the Bible, and then kind of how do they relate to us? What can we learn from this? What can we take away from this? And then at the end of those studies, the theme studies, we'd kind of tie all the verses together and just talk about the theme in general and how we either dwell with it, how we can overcome it, if it's like a sin, or if it's something like trust, how can we do more trusting in our lives, trusting with our friends, our family, God.
That's awesome. So you've obviously been a devout Catholic your whole life. So what might you say to people who are a little unsure about their faith? Maybe that they've, you know, been involved in church but kind of drifted away, or maybe they've never even experienced church at all or religion at all. They've just not been into that stuff. What might you kind of say to them, Aidan?
I'd say that the number one thing you can do if you're trying to grow closer in a faith is to find your own Strength in Christ club. Find a group of people that you can trust and that people that you know will listen to you and talk to you and help you grow closer. And if you're unsure about the faith, then really the best thing you can do is just talk to people about it. Hear about other people's experiences and other people's thoughts. Don't make your own opinions around what other people say, but other people will help you. There's great groups of people out there, campus ministries, Bible studies, church groups, youth groups, just places that you can go to learn more about a faith. And you don't have to be religious to go to those things. Those people and those groups are there to help you, people who are unsure, grow closer. So I think the best thing you can do is just get involved with your peers.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that's been, important for me as well. So I think that's definitely some good advice to kind of, get involved with campus ministry and studies, and that
Absolutely.
it's not necessarily quote unquote religious. It's, a way for you to meet other people. But if it's something that you
Totally.
find interesting, or the aspect of what I liked about our campus ministry was the aspect of service.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
leadership, which I think are traits that are bigger than religion.
Mm-hmm.
Service and leadership, allows us to, improve our character as people. So I think that was a good way
Certainly.
for me, even though I'm religious, but for me and you and others, regardless of where we came from, to kind of be under the same unified goals, which I think made the efforts a lot more successful, I'd say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our campus ministry kind of just teaches a lot of those core values of Catholicism and just Christianity in general. Like you said, service, leadership. So great way for people to get involved.
Do you plan on doing some kind of camp ministry or something down there when you get to Georgia?
I do. So at the University of Georgia, we have a group called Catholic Dogs. So I'm definitely looking to get involved in that. I don't know too much about it yet. I'm still interested in learning more. When I was down there for orientation, my orientation leader was actually involved in it. So she got to telling me about it a little bit. She's a Bible study leader herself. So definitely something I'm looking forward to getting involved in down there. But again, I still need to learn more about it first.
Got you. Well, you obviously had a lot of experience, in high school, and so I think it'll be a pretty easy transition to
I
the
think so as
Catholic
well.
dogs down there at Georgia. That's awesome. All right, so here's kind of a heavy hitting question here. You could probably talk about this for hours and hours. Why do you love Jesus, Aidan?
There you go. That's a question right there. I think the reason why I love Jesus the most is just because he's the backbone of every single day that I live. Whether it's the darkest time of day and I'm just going through it, say I just had an awful day, I know he's right there with me. But then on the other hand, if I'm having a great day, everything's going my way, he's also right there. I think what's really most important though is remembering that when you're having those dark days, I've talked about this time and time again on this interview, but that sense of trust that you have with him, just knowing that when you're having a really rough and difficult time, that he's just right there with you, I think that's so powerful and so important. You always think about having your best friends there for you all the time, but in reality, that's just often not going to be the case. You never know when something might go astray, a friendship might fall apart. But that friendship, that love, that relationship that you have with him, it's never, ever going to fade. And I think that's just the most beautiful thing about knowing that he's always going to be there right with you. That regardless of what you do that might damage that relationship, he's never going to leave you and he's never going to stop loving you. I think in my experience as a high schooler, when I was going through rough times, whether I was up until 1 in the morning studying for a test and I just had a terrible headache and I knew I had to wake up in 5 hours and I was just like, man, why me? Just being able to know that when I go and take that exam the next morning and I might be tired, I'm exhausted, I'm not feeling good, that Jesus is going to be sitting right there next to me taking the exam with me. That's kind of just like the most powerful thing, in my opinion, at least.
That's really cool. I never thought of the analogy of like Jesus being right there with you as you're taking the test.
Definitely.
There's the analogy of the guardian angel type thing, kind of feeling like, he's right there with you and going to be beside you, even, in your hardest moments, in the moments when you are a little tired, because you're
Certainly.
not studying and when you're not feeling great. So I think that's
Certainly.
that's that's definitely, that's kind of why I love Jesus too, for the friendship and the camaraderie that he gives me, not just through him, but through people that his creation, he
Certainly.
to live with each other, and all that good stuff. All right, Aiden. So here's kind of final question here to wrap things up. What do you hope the future of Strength in Christ is?
So I think first and foremost that it continues as a study group at our school, or I should say our former school. My brother is going into his junior year, and I know he's more than eager to take over when the time comes to become a leader of the group. There's a ton of other younger kids, freshman through junior year, when I was a senior and we were seniors, who were just always there at the studies, and we're always enjoying them, learning, growing. And I think those people will, in the coming years, make great leaders. Now, in terms of Strength in Christ as a whole, I know that you and a couple other people have been taking the initiative to make it a YouTube channel, which I think is absolutely incredible. I think that this YouTube channel, if it continues to grow, can touch a lot of other lives, a lot of people who are either already devout Christians or people that are very unsure, people who don't know much about it and are just eager to learn. And I feel like by starting off by using these interviews, it it'll really make an impact on a lot of people. And I don't know the direction of where this YouTube channel is going, but I know that with time and dedication, this thing can definitely grow and continue to touch a lot of people and become more than just a small study group that we had at our school.
Well, you kind of played a big part in helping to get it off the ground. So, with you and myself and our other Strength in Christ team members, we were able to, get this off the ground. And I think
Absolutely.
the future is really bright for what we can do, spreading the good news of Jesus, to all that we come into contact to.
Certainly. I totally agree. Couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, Aidan, we appreciate you coming on the channel, sharing a little bit about your faith, and hopefully we'll have you back again before too long, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.